Hey folks, Brian Benz here, Cloud Advocate at Microsoft. I'm going to show you how to create an Azure Cobalt CPU-based Azure Kubernetes service. Azure Cobalt CPUs are ARM64 processors, and the reason why you'd want to use them on AKS is to save money. They're cheaper than running regular CPUs, and they're also better for the environment. They use less power. That's why Microsoft can sell them cheaper. Good for the environment, better for sustainable software, and also cheaper than running regular CPUs on your AKS cluster. There's two things. There's an agent node and a user node. You can run both on ARM64 CPUs, or you can mix. You can actually have the agent node running on CPUs and the user node running on ARM64. It's your choice. There's lots of conditions as to why. That would be a whole separate video. For now, I'll just focus on the fact that you can run in a mixed environment. We're going to do the portal today, but if you want more information on how to set this up, aka.ms/armonazure is where you go. I have CLI instructions there, and I have a separate video for using the Azure CLI as well. aka.ms/armonazure. I'll give you all that information. But today we're actually going to go through the portal, and I'm going to do everything manually just to show you how to do that if you're unfamiliar with the scripting environment or you just don't want to do it that way. So you go to portal.azure.com. You can sign up for a free trial if you don't have one, an account. You need an Azure account. You're going to need and access to ARM64 Cobalt CPUs, and they're not in every location, so you'll have to check the documentation when you watch this video. It's going to be different from when I record it, and we're rolling out CPUs for ARM64 in all the locations as we go, so it'll be different. So anyway, just check documentation to check where your regions are that you can use ARM64 CPUs. All right, first thing we're going to do, this is once again the portal.azure.com. We're going to create a resource. We're going to create a compute resource and Azure Kubernetes Service. In this case, you've got to have a subscription, and then I'm going to create a new resource group. All right, this one's going to be bbenz portal, no, ARM on AKS portal. I like to name these things so I can find them later. There we go. So, and we're going to use the production standard for this one, I think. And that's because you got an agent node and a user node when you do that. We're going to use Canada Central because I know I have ARM CPUs in Canada Central. No other reason than that. And we're going to get rid of availability zones for this just because it's easier for the demo. But normally you'd want to set up the availability zones. What they are is it spreads your AKS instances across different regions in case of any kind of disaster recovery. This is just a demo, so we don't need disaster recovery necessarily. All right, and that's it. So the next screen, we're actually going to choose our items. So we have an agent pool and a user pool. And right away, we're running into quota allocation issues. I'm using a Microsoft account, and customers come first, so Microsoft restricts what we can use as employees, and we have to ask for extra quota if we want. You might not have that limitation in your organization, or you might. Some people have that set up as well inside of their organization based on the subscription type they have. But anyway, I've got to fix this. So agent pool we're going to leave as is. So we're going to leave that with the standard CPUs. And we're going to change the user pool. That's a little bit counterintuitive. Instead of just saying we're going to use ARM, you have to go in here and you have to choose a size. And the size will actually determine what you're going to have. So D2PS, D2PS V5. Oh, yeah. So once again, the availability zones are telling me my quota won't work for this. So I have to get rid of the availability zones for the user node as well. All right, choose a size, D2PS. Now it lets me use the series V5, which I know I have access to. Select, And there we go. I think that just gets rid of the message. Let's see. Update. Okay, and as you can see, the message went away now because we have allocation for the CPU. And yeah, as you can see here, so we have actually a mixed environment. So the agent pool is going to be running on regular CPUs on Azure, and then the user pool is going to be running on ARM64. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is we want everything else pretty much in the next screen can be left as is. Then we want to create a new container registry. We want to create it with the same name, but you can't use dashes. So Docker Hub, this is, so Azure Container Registry is a version of a container registry. Every container-based application development environment, including AKS, needs a container registry to pull images from. You can use Docker Hub, or you can use, in this case, we're creating a custom private container registry on Azure, and that's what we got here. We're going to enable the min user because we want to set that up manually as well. So we've got the registry name is bben's Arm on AKS portal. It's going to go into the same resource group that you already created, and also the same location, Canada Central. All right, and then, as far as I know, we can basically leave everything else the way it is. Security, advanced, tags, yep, review and create. And we should be able to create this cluster. And through the magic of video editing, it takes about 15 minutes, sometimes longer, to deploy the Kubernetes cluster and the ACR and things like that. So we're back at the portal now after we've done our validation and our installation. And we're going to search for bben's. We should find a resource group. There it is, bben's Arm on AKS portal. And we have a Kubernetes cluster set up, and we have a container registry set up. So what we're going to do next, actually, is we're going to deploy a container from Docker Hub into our container registry, and then we're going to deploy that from our container registry into our AKS instance on the portal running ARM64. Now, I mentioned before we're using the portal, so we've finished the portal portion of this. Now you actually do need to do some things with a CLI of some kind. I'm going to switch into VS Code, Visual Studio Code. This is a free download to do the rest of this. All right. So the first thing we want to do, actually, we need to connect to the Kubernetes cluster. To do that, you use a command. So we're going to go into AKS, and we're going to click on Connect. In Connect, you can see there's options for the Cloud Shell, Azure CLI, and a run command to do this. We're actually going to, you can use kube control and Helm on your cluster through the Azure API with a direct connection through the portal. But we're actually going to use Visual Studio Code, and you'll see why as I do this. So we're going to use the Azure CLI. First thing you have to do is install the Azure CLI. There's instructions there on how to do that. And then you have to install kube control. And once you've got that set up, you can download the cluster credentials. And that's the one you want to do. You want to copy that, and you want to put it into VS Code. So let's switch to VS Code. All right, so over here in VS Code, we just want to run this, and this is basically going to set up my credentials so that my local machine can connect securely to my Kubernetes cluster. And there we go, we've got that. The next thing we're going to do is we're actually going to set up some variables that I set up in advance. You have to have Docker running on your local machine to do this, by the way, because what we're going to do is pull something down from Docker Hub and then push it up to our ACR registry. So we've got some variables here. What we've got is the resource group that I specified before, and then the location, the AKS cluster name, the node VM size, which we're actually not going to use here, and the node count. And then we need the ACR name, the ACR image that we're going to use, and the ACR tag we're going to use as well. All right, so let's go ahead and put these into our terminal as an environment variable. So I'm using WSL down here, which is Windows subsystem for Linux. And it's basically Ubuntu running on Windows. Down here, you can see WSL over here. Let me zoom in a little bit more for this part so you folks can see that better. Okay, so WSL down here. So I set up the environment variables. And the next thing I want to do is we install AKS via the portal, which we already did. Then we're going to do a Docker pull to pull this down to our local machine. And what we're going to get is the Linux ARM64 Cassandra latest. It's going to go out to Docker Hub and it's going to pull that down for us. So let's go ahead and do that. Pulls down Docker Hub. All right, so it's already pulled down to my machine for a previous demo, so good, that saves some time for us. We're going to set up the tag. So you set up a tag so that when you push this, it pushes it out to the right registry and the location. It gives you a tag name that you can use when you're deploying it out to AKS. Then you do a Docker push, and you push that out to the ACR as well. All right. And this is why you set up those environment variables. All right, so that layer already exists. Okay, I already did this as part of another demo, so it's already been pushed out there. Now, if we go back to the portal and we go back to our resource group, you'll see in the resource group, in the container registry, and we go down to repositories, Cassandra, and V1. Okay. So there it is. So this is waiting to be deployed out to our AKS cluster now. So how do we do that? Well, we switch back to VS Code, and we are going to deploy this to AKS. So to do that, we need to create a file. So over here, I've got a file called Cassandra deployment from ACR YAML, but it doesn't have our new registry name and our version of Cassandra and everything like that we based on these environment variables up here. So what we do is we do a cat command in Ubuntu and in Linux, and it's going to create a new version of Cassandra deployment from ACR YAML that has the right values in it. If you look down here, the ACR name, the ACR image, and the ACR tag have to be set. So let's go ahead and do that. And all I do with that is I just select all of this and basically paste it in here, and it creates a new YAML file. So if we look at this Cassandra deploy from YAML now, you can see bbenz arm on AKS portal.azure.io. It's got the right location and the right tag name and the right version name now. For some reason it's giving me a bit of an error here. I don't know why. Okay, it's all right. We can save. It is saved already, I believe. Yep, it's saved, so it did a cat command for that. The next thing we want to do is we just want to do a kube control apply, and it's going to actually apply this for us. All right, so, it's already applied and sent out there. And then we can do the service YAML, which doesn't change. Okay, and then we can do kube control get pods. And that shows our pod Cassandra running. And then we can get services. We can actually check the services as well. Okay, so Cassandra cluster IP is running. And then the dashboard, we can actually just look at the dashboard. It gives you a link for the dashboard itself. But we already have that. We can actually go to the portal to do that. But let's check the logs and make sure that Cassandra is running okay. And as you can see, it is created super user. Okay, so it's there. And then you can actually use the CQL shell to actually connect to this. But let's go back to the portal, and I'll show you in here once again. If I go into the AKS service, we have down here services and ingresses. We have several things running, including Cassandra. There is no cluster for that. If you remember, we didn't set up any availability zones there. But yeah, we have Kubernetes running, we have kubesystem running, and then we have Cassandra running. Everything looks to be okay. Everything's green, and then you can play around with the portal and or kube control to get more information on the systems and everything else that's running in here. The node pool is the one we've got for the ARM64 processor that's running, and you can see everything's ready and working there. And we're already using a substantial amount of memory. I'm not sure what for. We're not using it yet. Okay, so anyway, if you want more information, you can get that at aka.ms/arm on Azure. And there's all kinds of information there about how to set this up with the CLI and the portal. And there's also in there a link to a quick start, which is deploying an Azure Kubernetes Service using the Azure portal. Yeah, basically it gives you an overview of how to set that up and how to work with it. And there's all kinds of other ways to do this as well. You can even use Terraform to deploy this and other formats as well. All right, so my name is Brian Benz, Cloud Advocate at Microsoft. Thanks for hanging in there and watching the video. And please do check out aka.ms/arm on Azure for more information.